Hey folks, welcome back. I want to talk a little bit about doing things in order, not skipping things, not skipping over problems, thinking that you worry about it later, because it usually winds up being a lot more aggravation and grief if you don't fix it right off the bat. Now, this guy, I haven't ridden him yet, but I have just gotten up on his back a couple times, just leaning over the saddle, and we had a little bit of an issue with him wanting to move when I was trying to get on, and I don't think it was a particularly bad one. I think we've kind of solved it now. It wasn't a big problem, but it made me think about this. I can't count the number of times I've seen people dancing around beside a horse trying to get on it for the first ride, and then hopping on the horse, and well, it ends up turning into a bronc ride or whatever. And this guy has been ridden before, so I mean it's not new to him, but he's got a few bad habits, and we're restarting him, retraining him a bit, re-educating him right from the beginning, going through things one at a time. And we aren't going to just jump ahead and get on him if he isn't going to stand still while we're trying to mount him. So we're going to fix that problem completely before we ever try riding him. Then we can go to the next step. Fix one thing before you move on to the next. I can't count the number of times, like I said, I've seen, I don't know how many people, chasing the horse around, dancing around, trying to get on the horse while it's moving. And you know what? If you got to do that, you shouldn't be getting on a horse in the first place. It's not ready to be ridden. If it won't stand still for a mount, it shouldn't be ridden. It's simple as that. And it's like anything, any aspect of training, don't get in a rush to get to the next step until the one prior to that is properly addressed and properly fixed, and the horse is properly educated and trained in that particular one. Okay, so he had a little bit of an issue moving. It's been a chronic problem in his past. Actually dropped his owner on the ground once trying to get on, and he moved. And so we're working on that. I don't think it's a big problem. I don't think he's actually being bad. I think it's just it's a pretty mild issue. It's not really something that he's doing to be disrespectful. It's just he likes to turn around and face me. So every time I get beside him to get on, he wants to turn around. So he's not running off or anything like that. It's not a big problem. It's easy to fix, but we are going to fix it before we move on to the next step, which is actually riding him. So just something to think about. It doesn't matter which stage you're at in your training. Don't move on to the next step until you've completed the one prior to that. There is a reason that most things are done in a certain order, and it just makes life a whole lot easier for you all the way around. Okay, so take your time, fix each problem as it arises. Don't jump ahead. Don't move on to the next step until the one prior to that is properly achieved and properly finished, and you don't have a problem with it anymore. Then you're ready for the next one. Well, I said I'd eventually ride him, and I did. And no, I don't have a video of it because I'm the one with the camera, and I don't play with cameras while I'm riding. I pay attention to the horse. Very few videos that I've done where I've actually been on the back of a horse, and only when I was in a very well-known situation where I thought there was a good chance I could get away with it for a few minutes. This guy, I'm not going to take that chance. But we did just give him a little test drive around the corral here. Not much. We were only on him for a couple of minutes, but as I suspected, he's a very sensitive horse. He responds well. He's smart. He stops. He backs just fine in a halter. And yes, he also neck reins, which he's never been taught any of those things. He's never been ridden in a halter before. And as I said, I didn't see it was going to be a problem, and I was right. He was a little hesitant a couple of times when it came to the neck reining. He's still learning, because he's not used to it. He has been ridden before, but he was always direct rein, so the neck reining thing is a little new to him. But he's a sensitive enough horse. He responds to pressure on the neck well enough that all you got to do is touch him with the rein, and he knows what to do. He just simply does what he's taught to do. He responds to pressure. So if there's pressure on the neck, he turns. Simple as that. So can he be ridden in a halter? Well, so far he can. And I don't suspect there's going to be any problems in the future either. We still got a long ways to go. Today was just a quick little test, kind of gauge his behavior and reaction to having a rider on him again. Hasn't been ridden for a while, and he's had a few issues in the past with riders. Even his original trainer was scared to ride him anymore. So we've been addressing a few things, working on things, and we just kind of decided today that maybe it was time. Maybe he's ready. And he's still got a ways to go. We're not done yet, but we can ride him. We can get on him, and we're going to get on him again in the corral a few times here, and gradually work up to going out in the yard, riding around the yard, and then eventually we're going to take off out across that hay field there somewhere. Maybe go down the road. Who knows? We're going to see how far we can actually go with him by himself. Because he's never been ridden alone. He's always been ridden with other horses. He is rather herd bound. He has a bit of separation anxiety. And we're hoping that his confidence in me, his trust in me, is going to make him feel comfortable enough that he won't mind riding out alone. And that's a pretty good sign. If we can ride him out alone, then we're doing things right. And that's kind of what we did with the one other horse out there, that Dark Bay, when we rode him out. He hadn't been ridden out alone either, and he was prone to being a bit of a handful when you rode him alone, even though he's a pretty good horse. He didn't like going out alone. And I rode him out alone in a halter as well. So it can be done, and we're going to do it. It's just going to take some time to work up to it. Well, another nice day's come to an end. We're done our training for the day. But even as I'm done, I'm not done paying attention. Now you see what's happening here? He's with his buddies. He's got a great big bale there that he hasn't been allowed to get near for quite a while. And he could easily just stick his face in there and munch away to his heart's content. Yeah, couldn't you, buddy? He's still paying attention to me. And so even though we're done training officially, I'm still paying attention to him and paying attention to, making observations on his behavior. And it tells me a lot. He's not completely ignoring me. Even though he's very comfortable now with his hay and his buddies and everything else, he's still paying attention to me. And that can be a great indicator of progress. And, just an example of, even though your training session is done, don't stop paying attention to the horse, because it can still teach you a lot. You can still learn, things about the horse. You can learn how it's progressing. You can learn things about its, attitude and behavior and a whole lot of other things. And just going to throw in one other little thing here too that was kind of interesting and I've talked about how don't let the horse win. Make it do what you want it to do. Follow through. Now he knows with me that if he moves, I'm going to put him back where I want him. His owner was just out here a few minutes ago while I had him in the corral, and they wanted to go take a look at the bite on him. And they walked up, and as soon as they got near it and touched it, he moved away. He doesn't do that with me because he knows that if I ask him to stand still, I want him to stand still. And that's where it's important. Consistency is important. And it's also another example of how training isn't an event. It's a process. It takes a long time. I've said it many times before. It takes years to make a good horse. And you have to follow through with his training. While I'm riding him, every time I take him out, I'm going to be very consistent with him. I'm always going to make him do what I ask him to do, and I'm going to always ask him the same way. I'm not going to confuse him. I'm not going to frustrate him, and I'm going to be reading him the whole time. And those are important things. There's many different trainers that have said the same thing in many different words, but it basically comes down to you don't just train a horse to do something and it's done. It requires, days, weeks, months, maybe even years of following up on that and consistency to get the horse to do what you want it to do. So that, it pretty soon there is no resistance at all. It knows exactly what it's supposed to be doing. It knows right from wrong. It knows what your expectations are, and you're never going to have a fight with the horse. So, just some things to think about. The training doesn't end when you open the gate and let the horse out. Your observations can continue, and the importance of your follow through and consistency. It's not a one-time event. It's a process, and it takes a long time. So don't get frustrated and discouraged if your horse doesn't do exactly what you want it to do as well as you want it to do it. The first time you teach it to do it, that's okay. It takes time before you get good at anything. Have a good day, folks.